Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Holly if you're new here. It's been a couple months since I filmed a makeup tutorial. I've been really focusing on my Instagram and doing loads of creative looks and things like that. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave my Instagram handle down below in the description box. So as some of you might know, I do a lot of colourful looks, especially if you do follow me on Instagram, which is my pride and joy. I love creating colourful looks so much. But I thought I would actually change it up a little bit and do a YouTube tutorial using some of my favourite products and creating a sort of soft glam wintry autumny vibe sort of look thing, if that makes sense. I say soft glam, but then I'm not sure like what is soft, because if I put too much black eyeliner in there, is it still soft? I don't know. So I'm using at the moment the Precisely My Brow pencil. I normally use the Primark one, which is like £2 I think, and it's called the Skinny Brow or Sketch Brow pencil thingy, which is basically really similar to the Benefit one, but for some reason I can't find my shade anymore, so don't know what that's about. So what I'm going to do first is just brush up my eyebrow hairs. So I like to go and underline the shape of my brow. I'm not pressing really hard, I'm just sort of going in lightly, and I just want to sort of fill in a few areas because my brows are quite sort of thick at the front and then they kind of lose a little bit of, I just don't really have much going on through this bit. So once I've done that, I then go through to the top of my eyebrow. And this is the bit that I really cheat it because I sort of create more of an arch, if that makes sense. Is it an arch or an arc? I actually don't know. So I'm just sort of bringing that down, again with a really light hand still, and then I'm just joining it up to that point. Once I've done that and I've got the basic shape, I like to go in with tiny little hair strokes. Now I'm going to go through the front of my brow and like literally just sort of underline the shape. Like so, and then I'm going to really lightly just flick up the product, comb that through it as well. So now both my brows are done, I'm going to go in and carve them out. They're looking very dark and very bold at the moment, but don't worry because I can do something later that just tones it down a little bit, so it's quite a good trick, because I do get a little bit carried away. I'm not gonna lie. So to carve out my brows, I'm going to use my Holliee.b base. I've actually had this for almost a year, I want to say, and I do a lot of eye looks, so it's I think it's the 30mm one. I think it's 20mm bigger than the standard normal size, but it's in the shade Rumour number 2, and just put some on the back of my hand. And then this brush is just one from Primark actually. I always use it to carve out my brows. It's actually quite good. I feel like sometimes when you buy a concealer brush, they can appear quite thick, but once you've got a lot of product and sort of built up that product in there, it stays nice and thin, which is what you normally want to carve out your eyebrows or do any sort of cut creasing or anything like that. So I take the product on both sides of my brush, and then I'll start through the front. And then just gently carve out that shape. So any mistakes that you make as well, or any sort of adjustments that you want to do, you can always use this step to fix it. Then I'm going to apply the rest of that base by patting it on. And you don't need to use loads, you can just sort of use bit by bit. It will create a nice blank canvas for when you apply your eyeshadow. You can use concealers. I used concealers for so long before I actually bought this base. But I find that this base just really brings out the pigments in your eyeshadows. And if you've got really oily eyelids as well, I feel like this is really good because it gives it that tackiness. So I think some of my friends, they find that their eyeshadow transfers, so this should help with that. I don't really have problems with my eyelids being quite oily. I mean, if anything, mine are probably a bit too dry. So yeah, but I think it will help to definitely keep the shadows in place. So now my brows are on, I'm going to make a start on my base, and I'm going to go in with a primer slash moisturiser. So the one I want to use today is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I've not actually used this a lot, I sort of forgot about it, like I heard really good things, and every time I've used it it's been really, really good. So it's sort of like a moisturiser and a primer in one. It's so nice. Like it's a bit more pricey, I think it was like £40, but you don't need a lot at all, and it comes in quite a good size as well, so it's not too small. I think it's, you get 50 mils of product in it. I like to make sure I get right round my nose area as well, and then slap some on my forehead. Oh, this smells so good, I love it. I don't know why I haven't used this in ages. On a day-to-day basis, I don't actually really wear makeup because one, I'm not a morning person, and two, I don't know. I am a bit lazy like that. Like I love creating makeup and I love wearing it when I'm doing something, or like if I'm not working. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Probably just me. So the next step is foundation. I might try, I'm going to use one of my favourite foundations, it never lets me down. It's the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Stay Fresh Foundation. This is in the shade Rose Beige 145. I'm just going to put some on the back of my hand. So lately I've been really enjoying using a brush to put on my foundation, and then I go in with a beauty blender, a damp one, just to go over it and make sure it's nice and seamless. The reason why I like using a brush is because I feel like you get more out of your product. It doesn't sort of absorb it, and this brush specifically, I never used to like using brushes because they gave me like streak marks on my face, like lines. But Erin Rose, she's a makeup influencer, and she swears by this brush. So yeah, I was like, I need to get that brush, and it's so good. So I just sort of press it into my skin, making sure I get around the jawline and down my neck a little bit. See, I just love this foundation. I feel like it's so underrated. I don't really like any foundations that are matte. I really like sort of dewy, healthy, glowy foundations on the skin, and this one is exactly that, and I feel like the coverage is really good as well. Not lucky. So yeah, I'm just pressing it into the skin. I always like to just go under this part as well. I just go over my eye a little bit, just give it a bit more colour. Also, I really like to spend a lot of time on my base. I used to just sort of slap it on and think, okay, it's blended, it's fine. But I noticed such a big difference when I keep sort of going over it. It feels more like skin, like it sort of just melts into your skin and just feels a lot more sort of smooth and skin-like, I guess. The only thing with my foundations is that in the winter I can get so pale. Like my neck just has no colour to it, so I really have to blend it down. Much better. So I'm going to go over it a little bit more, just in places that need a bit more coverage. So for me it's always sort of this area, because I do tend to break out around there. So now I'm going to use my damp beauty blender, and I'm just going to press gently over that foundation, and this will give it sort of more of an airbrushed effect, because it's just sort of pressing that product into your skin even more. I used to just straight away apply it with the beauty blender, which if I'm in a rush then I will do because it's so quick, but if you want that sort of flawless glowy skin, then I definitely recommend doing this. So I'm just going to go in with highlight, and I'm going to use the e.l.f. Flawless Concealer, which is this one, and I use the shade Fair Beige. If any of you have seen I think it was my last video actually, doing an e.l.f. makeup haul, I actually used this concealer. And this one's called the 16-Hour Camo Concealer. So I actually really didn't like this concealer, and I think I got confused because I was like, hang on a second, is this the same concealer? But I think I was supposed to pick up this one. So yeah, this one I didn't get on with at all because it sort of like cracked on my face. It went really dry. But yeah, so I definitely recommend this concealer. This one is amazing. I love it. It doesn't crease on me. It sort of, I always get some sort of lines underneath my eyes, but that's just my face. So this one is really nice and really good coverage. And I like to just apply it under my eyes like so. And then I'll bring it out a little bit towards my temples. And I'll also do sort of a reverse contour on my nose. So I like to go quite high with this and bring it down nice and straight. And especially this time of year, I like to go just slightly around my nose because it gets quite red there. And then my smile lines a little bit because I have got really bad smile lines. Like they're always there. I think it's because I smile so much and laugh. Maybe I should be more moody. Helps my makeup stay a bit better. So do the top of my lip and then my chin as well. I'm also going to put some just below where I would contour. I'm going to go in with my damp beauty blender again and just gently press in that product and blend it outwards. If any of you really struggle with getting into this area here with your beauty blender when blending out, I definitely suggest doing your eyeshadow probably after, because you can just sort of like press it over your whole eye and get right in there. Still like to highlight my big ass forehead because why not? And then I'll go along this area here as well. With my nose highlight, I like to leave. Look at the difference. This is why you have to blend it down your neck, because when your foundation isn't the correct colour for you and you don't want to give in, that is not okay. So I learned a technique from Holliee.b, obviously, because I love her, and it's to leave your concealer on the bridge of your nose to dry down a little bit. So I feel like it creates a bit more coverage, and sometimes I find that when I'm blending out any concealer or product on my nose, it sort of takes away the product, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I just feel like it kind of sticks there better. So I'm going to leave that to dry down for a little bit and move on. So I'm going to contour my face, and I'm using the Technique, this one, Colour FX Cream Foundation Contour Palette, and I actually go in with the darkest shade because I feel like these are slightly too warm and they're just not quite dark enough, and I really like the tone of this. So I'll go in with this one, and they're really creamy and they blend out so easily. So it's not too harsh, it's not too crazy pigmented. So yeah, it's not too scary to use. I'm actually going to put this on with my finger, like so. So I'm going to go just on my cheekbone area, just underneath. I remember when contouring first came in, and oh my god, I was so bad at it. And I used to do like my cheekbone contour so wonky. Like one side would be up here and one side would be down there. It's probably going to be wonky today now I've said that, but you know, yeah, definitely is. Let's fix that little bit. I like to go down a little bit through this area. And don't forget your jawline, because if you're anything like me and love food, you will definitely want to make sure that your jawline is snatched. Then I'm going to go down the sides of my nose, and I start quite high with this, so I go just under my eyebrow. Don't judge the line, people. And then just go under the tip as well. So it looks a little bit squiggly, but don't worry, I'm going to sort that out. Okay, I'm going to take another beauty blender and just blend that through, and you'll see it blends out so nicely. So that's why I use the darkest shade, because it's the best tone in the palette, I think. It's not too warm. And then do your head. Don't ever forget about your jaw contour, because I think I've done that before. And you just can't get away with it. It just looks weird, you know? Now I'm going to blend out my nose contour. I'm just using sort of a fluffy, dense brush. And I'm going to really, really gently start to blend that outwards. So I have put a little bit too much product on this side, so I'm just going to go over it with the same sponge that I used to apply my concealer and just sort of bring that back up a little bit. And then go over my nose. So once I've gone over my nose bit, I'm just going to use the leftover concealer and pat the sides of my nose to make sure the contour and the darker shade hasn't gone too wide. Oh God, I've got an itch. Oh. Why do I have to have an itchy face when I've just done my nose contour? Honestly. I think we are good to go. Now I've applied all my creams, I'm going to go in with powder next before I start my eyeshadow. So you want to set all your powders, your creams down. And I like to use the Laura Mercier translucent powder, Shock, because it's everyone's favourite. It looks like this. So I'm going to use my beauty blender. Sometimes I do like to use my translucent powder with a really light hand and a fluffy brush. Sometimes I'll use a brush like this and just really gently like go in under my eyes and like wherever else I need it. But if I want my base to last all night or all day, then I will go in with a beauty blender. Make sure before you set any of your creams that there are no creases and no dodgy areas, because otherwise you're going to set the creases in place as well. So you want your base to be as smooth as possible before you obviously set it, and it will help your powders go on even better. I'm going to take a little tiny bit of my lid and just press my beauty blender in there. I'm going to look up and really gently pat just underneath my eyes. I'm not going in crazy, like full on baking. I'll go in sort of in layers. So I feel like if you put loads in at one go, then it sort of just, I don't know, just kind of clumps together. So I'll go back in with another layer. I also like doing this because my skin can kind of absorb the first layer and not go patchy or anything. So it makes it look a lot more airbrushed. I don't know if you guys can tell on camera. So I'm doing the exact same this side and going in with layers. And then I'll go in with a really, really light amount all over my face. I never ever used to do this, ever. But this really helps for your bronzers and things like that to actually blend out nicely. I did find when I didn't do this that any bronzers or anything like that or blushes, they would just kind of stick to the wrong areas of where I didn't put powder. And I always need some down the sides of my nose. All over my nose. Has anyone looked at pictures? You know, when you go out and you take selfies and you think you look amazing and the next day you've got a red nose. Yeah, we don't want that. It's taken me how many years to realise I actually need to powder my nose. Now for the next part, which could be a bit scary for some people. I've only done it a few times, but this sort of helps anyone who struggles with their eyebrows sort of staying in place, or if they've done their eyebrows and they feel like it's looking too harsh. So what I do is I go in with my powder again and my beauty blender, and I'll literally go right over my eyebrows. I can't remember where I got this technique from. I think a few people have done it. Oh my God, I look crazy. Halloween's over. But have faith, okay? Don't click off this video yet and think I've gone crazy. There is method to the madness. So I'm going to leave that to set and make a start on my eyeshadow. But first I'm going to go over my base and make sure it's nice and smooth, because there is a bit of crease in there from where I've left it on for so long. So we're going to go with soft glam vibes. No colour vibes, soft glam. The palette I'm going to go in with is the Holliee.b Cosmetics Dare to Be Different palette. This is by Holliee.b. If you haven't heard of Holliee.b, you probably don't follow my Instagram because I'm basically like a #1 fan. I feel like my Twitter as well should be basically a fan page for her. But she came out with her brand, I think it was like a year ago now actually. And this year she actually released a Dare to Be Different limited edition range, which included an eyeshadow palette, and I love this. I've created so many looks of this. and it looks like this. So it's a really nice palette because you can go colourful, you can stick to your sort of neutrals or sort of go in between. So the first shade I'm going to use is the shade Chocolate. I'm going to take that on a Morphe Fluffy blending brush. It doesn't actually have a number because it came in a set. So I'm going to tap in to the shade. And then just start from the outer edge here, really lightly. My technique that I do for more neutral shades of eyeshadow is a lot different to my colourful looks. Because a lot of the time I'll press on and pack on the colour. Because we want to keep this nice and soft and we're going more neutral, we can sort of just push the product around and build it up gradually. I actually quite enjoy doing looks like this because I don't do them often. And I love doing different techniques and just switching up a little bit, you know. This is switching up for me, because normally I'd be going with bright pink by now. So I'm focusing mainly on the outer edge. I'm going to start just bringing that out to create more of like a cat eye effect. And this will just widen your eyes and make them look a bit more shapely. And when you bring out your shadows, make sure you bring them up a little bit. You don't want to drag them down because then your eyes will look sad. And we don't want that. I'm going to dip into the shade Rich, and I'm taking that on another fluffy blending brush. These are by Unicorn Cosmetics, and they're so good. They're really, really nice brushes. And I'm going to blend out that shade and bring it quite high. So I always like to bring my shadows quite high because I feel like it opens your eyes up a lot more. But obviously your placement of where you put your shadows is entirely up to you guys. I'm just going in with a light hand. I'm just really blending that brown outwards. I really can't explain this shade, but I love it. And then I'm going to pull that shade down a little bit as well into my inner crease. I'm going to bring that upwards through my inner corner. I learned this technique from Nikki Tutorials, and it does make a huge difference to your eye looks as well. It's sort of, I don't know, it sort of just gives it more depth and a bit more shape around here. Your inner corner is popping. Don't forget about that bit. I'm now going back in with the shade Chocolate. So I like to repeat my shadow steps quite a lot because I feel like when you're blending out some shades, it can kind of lose the definition in it. So I always like to repeat my steps with any eyeshadow look. Oh, it's so pretty. This is why I love this palette, because it's so versatile. I've literally only used these two shades here, and it's basically a look complete. So you can add whatever you want, but I think, I don't know what to do on my lid. So for this area of my lid, I'm going to take my Primark PS Glow Getter palette. So it's a highlighting palette. It is literally one of my favourites. It is so good. I'm going to go in with Miami Vibes. So I don't know if you guys can see from the camera. And I'm just going to place that really softly through that part of my lid with my finger. I'm not going to be really precise with it. I'm just going to sort of merge it into the crease as well with my finger. I'm just going to line my lash line with the Maybelline Master Precise pen. And I'm just going to go right in my lash area. I mainly do this to just give my look a little bit more depth, and it really helps your eyelashes to sort of blend in when you stick them on later. For my lower lash line, I'm going to use a black pencil and just put that in my waterline. And I'm going to bring it down a little bit as well. So I'm not going in too neat, I'm just sort of rubbing it into my lashes. I'm going to take this tiny little flat sort of shader brush and run that along and just smoke out my lower lash line. I've actually never done this technique before. Great time to try it on one of my videos, you know. But I learnt it from one of Holliee.b's videos. So next up I'm going to go in with that brown shade that I used in my crease earlier. So this one here, the shade Chocolate. And I'm taking a pencil brush and I'm going to run that basically on top of that black. And just keep smoking that out. I actually don't know if this is working for me because I've just realised I'm not Holliee.b. Okay, I'm gonna try. I think I have to just go with it. So I'm gonna go in with the shade Rich. I'm gonna really blend that out. So I'm using the False Lash Queen mascara. This is from Primark. I'm never really that bothered about mascara. I think because my lashes are so small, like there's only so much you can do. But this one works quite well. I just went off camera to do my other eye and apply my lashes. These ones are from Unicorn Cosmetics. I got them a few weeks ago and I love them. They're so dramatic but really nice and wispy. They're in the style Holliee.b and they come in like a cute packaging like this. My smoky under eye looks so nice with these lashes as well. I was like scared when I tried to do that technique. I was like, oh my god, what have I done? I'm going to take a fluffy brush and just dust away my powder from before on my eyebrows. I'm not too sure if you guys can tell on camera, but I can definitely notice a difference. They're a lot softer. I always like my eyebrows quite dark anyway, so, but yeah, they're a lot softer, and as well, they won't transfer. I know it sounds weird to set your eyebrows, but it actually works. So if you haven't tried it, then give it a go. The next thing I'm gonna do is just bronze my face, and I like to use the Fenty Beauty Sunstalker bronzer. This is definitely my favourite. I'm going to run this over my contoured areas and sort of bronze up my face as well. I'm just taking, this is like a fluffy brush from Primark. So I'm just going to lightly go over where I contoured. The shade that I use is Private Island. I love this bronzer. You can get so many shades of it as well. I just feel like you can build it up really nice, and I think the tones are really, really lovely. I like to go under my jawline as well. And then my chin. And now one of my favourite parts is using blush. I used to hate blush, but I literally love it so much now. And I'm going to use another one from Holliee.b Cosmetics. This is part of their Dare to Be Different collection. And I'm using the shade Feeling Peachy, which it looks a bit darker, I think, in camera, but it's so pigmented, so you have to be really careful. Going with the light hand. I'm going to take it on this blusher brush, which when I first got this, I was like, I don't feel like this looks like a blusher brush, but it's so good. Like, I think the way she's designed it is so clever. I've never thought of using a brush like this. Or I don't think I've even owned a brush like this. It's really soft and fluffy, but it gives you such like a precise application. So you can see how pigmented it is, and I literally just tapped it off so much. So these blushes will last you ages, and I like to just bring it up a little bit as well. Then just put a little bit on the apples of my cheeks. And there's nothing wrong with some rosy cheeks in winter. I remember looking back and thinking, oh my god, back in the day people used to put like massive red circles as like their rosy cheeks. And I used to think, why do you want rosy cheeks? I don't get it. And now I'm like putting it everywhere. So before I put highlighter on, I am going to spray my face with the iconic Prep Set Glow Spray. This one here. I love this stuff so much. I'm just going to give it a good shake. After I've used set and spray, I like to apply my highlighter. The reason why I do it in this order is just because you'll find that when you've got a little bit more moisture in your skin, the highlighter sort of just pops even more. And I love two of these highlighters. So this one's really, really affordable. This is the Glow Getter palette, the one that I used, I think it was this shade on my lid, Miami. I think it was £6, and they are so pigmented. So I love this one. But my absolute favourite, and it is more expensive obviously, and I don't even know if you can get it anymore, but it is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Reezy highlighter. And I just literally think you can't get any better of a highlighter. So I'm going to use this today. I'm going to take it on a fluffy brush and then hit the tops of my cheekbones. I also like putting it just at the front as well, just so you can still see that glow coming across. So I like to bring it quite forward. And then hit the tops of my eyebrows. My Cupid's bow, which is my favourite part to highlight. I don't know why, but I love it. On my chin. And then I always hit some down at the bridge of my nose. And then the very tip as well. I just want to put some underneath my brow bone and then my inner corner as well. The final part of this look is my lips. So I'm going to use the Holliee.b Cosmetics liquid lip in the shade Obsessed. So this is a matte liquid lipstick, but it is so flexible and it's so movable. It's not like dry and cakey. I have tried quite a few in the past and they just crack, and then to reapply it or anything like that, it just doesn't look good. I am gonna add a gloss on top. This is in the shade I'm Good. So I think I'm just gonna pop this like in the middle. So this is the finished look, guys. I really hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I should be back with another video soon. Make sure you comment down below if there's anything specific you'd like me to film. If you want to follow what other looks I create, then make sure you follow my Instagram because I do post a lot more on there. I'll put my Instagram handle somewhere here. But yeah, thank you again, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.